MouseHunt. Welcome to Feedback Friday. It is March. Oh, can I guess the date? No, I can't. Gotta look. March 14. I had a feeling it was March 14. That was going to be my guess. At least I'll say that. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome on in. Hope everybody is doing well. Hope everybody's been enjoying the Super Refactory, the birthday event, earning some super tokens, playing the cheesy party game. Colette, hello, happy Friday to you as well. Welcome on in, Murphy. Sour Mash is hoping for some spring egg hunt news. Well, we'll touch base on the spring egg hunt because that is what follows the birthday event. But welcome on in, everybody. Amit, it's afternoon for you. Welcome on in, Potato, Lisa. Matt, this special Feedback Thursday. Yeah, a couple weeks ago we did have the Feedback Thursday. That might have been one of the first Feedback Thursdays. Lady Nutsy, welcome on in. Hey, Michelle, nice to see you. Oh, you know what, Lady Nutsy's put a little coffee emoji in the chat. Just made me realize I didn't refill my coffee before stream here. So I'm dealing with, I'm going to say about 1/8 of a cup. That's kind of unacceptable. YX is enjoying the cheesy pipe party game. It was good exercise for the brain, eh? Tarako, welcome on in as well. Colette's loving the pipe game. Well, that's a good segue to take a look at the birthday event or the anniversary event, whichever you prefer to call it. Because the shutdown is beginning on March 18. That is this coming Tuesday. So we're kind of going into the last weekend of the Super Refactory. Maybe a good piece of advice, start looking at your factory parts. Maybe start evening them out as best you can. Because once that shutdown phase begins, mice will no longer drop those upgrade parts. They no longer drop cheese. That said, if you do have some cheese, you can still hunt the mice. It's just they won't drop loot. So yeah, that's that'll be the cutoff of evening out your loot parts. If you want to buy wrenches from the general store, that said, I'm pretty sure you can smash those parts into party charms if I'm not sorely mistaken. But if I am, I bet you a hunter will correct me. I'm pretty sure you can smash them into party charms. But if you go to the general store at the Super Refactory, you can use those upgrade parts to buy some wrenches and play a few more boards of the pipe party game as well. Hey, Scrib, wait a minute. Hope you've been well. Likewise, Scrib, nice to see you. Jason, welcome on in. Crispy, good morning to you as well. Just joining us, Joel. Oh, welcome on in. And we're looking for a little bit of feedback on the cheesy pipe party as well, being brand new. We've been keeping our ear to the ground. It seems like a lot of hunters have been enjoying playing it. Definitely seems like it's maybe a little bit more of a challenging style game than if you compare it to some similar event or some similar parts of other events. The Snowball Showdown, Spooky Shuffle, Egg Sweeper, which is just around the corner with the egg hunt coming. I think this game requires a little bit more kind of lateral thinking, a little bit more problem solving. It's not always immediately obvious. I will say so far, anyway, I think every board is solvable. That probably would have came up fairly quick if there was a problem making the boards not able to be solved. So rest assured, if you're a little bit stuck, there is a solution. You don't need to write into support with a bug report saying I have a board that can't be fixed, because that tends to happen, but there is a solution to the board. Maybe reach out, ask a friend, ask the community. If you share a screenshot of it, often somebody will put, just rotate those two and you're good type of thing. So it's a little trickier than the others, right? The Snowball Showdown, if you just keep clicking, it'll solve itself. All right, and the trick is to try to do it with as few snowballs as possible. But this, as you reveal the board, you got to decide, well, do I need to reveal more, yes or no? And then the rotating is a little extra challenge on top. So it's been kind of neat to see how that's all been played out. But rest assured, all the boards can indeed be solved, at least as far as we know. But I'm fairly confident that there's not a bug or anything there, because many boards have been solved so far. That said, there are a couple little tiny display bugs as well that we're rolling out some mobile builds to correct. You may have noticed a pipe might not be rotated, but it still says you can pump, and there's a little bit of an issue where the app thinks the game is in one state and the server might think it's in another. Usually if you restart the app, it'll sync it up. It'll go get the copy from the server and you'll be all good to go. But we are rolling out a build as well to address that. Schoolwork asking, will the final crate be for Vincent or no Vincent, or just the crate finishing? That is a good question. I'm pretty sure you can still capture Vincent. We'll be kind of giving everything one last run through this afternoon, so I put that on the list to double check. But it is one small change from last year's Super Refactory. Last year, you were always able to finish pumping one more crate to claim it. So, if you're sitting there and it was at, just you had a little bit of progress, well, if you could still keep that thing pumping. That said, this year, all you got to do is take one hunt, and no matter where that progress bar is, it's going to finish. So that's a slight change from last year, just kind of help you finish up and take stock of things, kind of thing, put it in the rearview mirror a little bit quicker, wrap things up a little bit more neat and tidy. Sarah saying the pipe upgrade was a little hit and miss. That is something we've been keeping an eye on as well. I've been kind of writing down a little bit of feedback here and there, as well as how the pipe or the pump upgrade works as well. We're looking at maybe adding next year, instead of golden tickets, instead swap in, you can exchange wrenches for some pumps as well. So we're kind of curious to know what hunters think about that. Originally, when we're going through everything, and we're designing it, and when we're testing it out, we're a little bit concerned there in just the way the pipe party works is there's a very sort of finite or a calculation of cheese per wrench. And it made it not a very interesting choice to be able to exchange a lot of wrenches for a pump because it usually didn't make sense. Because if you just play more boards, you'll end up with more cheese per wrench. So we're kind of kicking around a few different ideas of how we might approach that next year. Or at least we're writing down some things to explore for next year. Would you like to see the quantity and quality of the board changed? Would you like to see the upgraded game work a little bit differently? So you could, if you're sitting and you have a few hundred wrenches and you feel like, I don't really want to play that many games, I can exchange a few of those for pumps and play fewer but more rewarding boards. Something that works well at the Snowball Showdown, because there's a hat on that board. So it's like, well, I could play 100 regular boards, but I think I'd rather just play 3 or 4 upgraded boards, and I'd rather just, fewer clicks to do as well. Might be something to set for that as well. Murphy, you like the cheese pipe game? Ken, challenging you must have got lucky. All years have been very simple. Well, it requires a different type of thinking, I think, than some of the other games. If I had to rank them, the Snowball Showdown is probably the most straightforward, right? It's just revealing shapes. And like I said earlier, if you just keep clicking, that board will solve itself. If you click every tile, then it's done. You could do it without having to think whatsoever. The Egg Sweeper is maybe one level above that. It shares in it, hey, if you just keep on clicking, it will solve itself. But there's a little bit with some strategy you can optimize it and use fewer shovels. The Spooky Shuffle is probably next up there. It requires memorization, but not a whole lot of problem solving. But this requires a little bit of a different way of thinking. And it's that definitely became apparent by the volume of people posting screenshots saying, I have one that can't be solved. And it's like, well, you could solve it. So I think it became evident that it's a little trickier than some of the other ones. Elusive, you're going to squeeze in the 50 hunt for the shutdown phase. Yeah, for sure. As shutdown approaches, if well, I really have no hope of finishing up this last crate, then you might want to wait. You might want to wait and just do it in one single hunt. That said, if you do chip away a little bit at it, you could get some, some bonus loot while you go. The wrenches will still be dropping and what have you. So it'll definitely be a feel-good moment to see the bar fill in a single hunt. So just something good to keep in mind maybe in the day before shutdown begins, depending on where you're at. Peter likes the wrench exchange for pump idea. That's something we're looking into. No guarantees, not exactly an announcement for next year, but it's something we've written down. So we like to put it out there, see what hunters think as well. And we kind of write down sentiments and different feedback that we get from hunters. And as always, we review it a few months before an event comes up, as we're kind of looking at what to tweak and change. School, you think the ticket cost is fine. Egg Sweeper doesn't have a shovel to fertilizer conversion either, and that's fine as well in your opinion. Well, that's something we've been looking at in the spring egg hunt as well, which we'll take a little sneak peek at the egg hunt. So will there be a feedback Friday before the egg hunt begins? Let me see here. It'll be Jacob next week. Yes, I will have one more. Look at that. Okay. And if you joined Jacob last week, you may have seen him drawing an egg scavenger hunt scroll case as well. I'll give a little bit of an update on that. Jordo likes the Black Forest cake base. It's your favorite of all the cake bases. It's a pretty good one. I like Black Forest cake as well. It's a pretty tasty type of cake. Bring back Ronzo's Burger. Is that a limited edition? Because if it is, it's not coming back. Francis, if you gained access to the Folklore Forest after March 11, will you be able to choose the Folklore Forest area? I do believe so, unless I'm mistaken, Francis, but that sounds like it would work, as it checks if you have access to the area. I believe you may also need the title requirement. Maybe not. Maybe not. No, I think you do. Yes, you most certainly do, actually. I can actually test that because I do have a map piece. I've been playing through the game from scratch, and I started doing that in... Where did I start? At the end of 2020, in 2021. And I'm cruising along here, but I did the Ronza event where I had the map piece. But yeah, I cannot pick that yet, so you do need the title requirement as well. Sparrow is looking for a Chrome and ranged Rhino bot. You may have to keep wishing on that, Sparrow. Chong asking, more special effect bases in the future? Certainly there's probably going to be one at some point, right? I don't think we've decided to never do that again, but it's just right time and place sort of thing. Trevor loves the pipe party game. You think it completes the event season, eh? We have Great Winter Hunt to farm for Lunar New Year. Now we have the birthday event to farm for Spring Egg Hunt. Yeah, it's neat to see you picked up on that a little bit. That kind of crossed our mind as well. The nice cadence of things. The Winter Hunt is very much a loot pinata style event. Gives you a whole lot of resources, and it's kind of nice. That leans right into Lunar New Year, where you go about your regular hunting and you can get a loot boost. It's kind of nice to have a little resource boost there. And likewise, the Spring Egg Hunt is one as well, where you kind of spread out and go find those eggs. And the birthday event has a nice knock-on effect now. Well, you can resupply your cheese. You can get all your cheese kind of sorted out. Hopefully you held on to some other resources that you might need that the Winter Hunt may have gave you as well. Yes, Michelle confirming you need the correct rank as well. Yeah, that is correct. Will the new Spring Egg Hunt scrolls be in time for the Spring Egg Hunt event? Well, that's a pretty good segue. We can get to the Egg Hunt. I guess one more thing to note as well, the final closure of the birthday is on March 25. That was kind of the last thing I wrote down there as well. So, you know, this coming Tuesday again, goes into shutdown mode. The mice won't drop loot anymore, but you can still attract the mice if you have some cheese, but you won't be able to get more cheese. So you can finish up a map you're working on. You can get a few last wrenches. You know, again, a good piece of advice this weekend, try evening out those upgrade parts while they're still dropping so you can get wrenches to play a few more boards. And then that final closure comes on March 25. The area is closed. I don't know if we quite decided when the Cheesy Pipe Party game would be shut down, but we normally run those types of games for just a little bit longer in case on that last day you kind of went to the general store, picked up a few more wrenches. You may have a little bit more time to place some boards, but you know, as always, try not to leave it to the last minute or you may regret it. We can get into the Egg Hunt because that's going to follow the Super Brief Factory event. That's what comes after the birthday. And it looks like we're on pace to start the event on April 1st. Everything looks pretty good there with 11 new eggs to discover. And as we mentioned earlier, and if you joined Jacob on Feedback Friday Art Edition last week, you may have noticed him illustrating a new scroll case, which is for an egg scavenger hunt. Now, no promises, because this is kind of coming in at the 11th hour. And we've been kind of working hard the last 2 weeks to try to make this a reality. And we're getting close. We can give a bit of an update in that we have the scrolls are all created, the lists are all created. We broke them down into 4 different difficulties with title requirements. I believe it starts at night, if I recall correctly. You can open the first scroll case, you can purchase it if you are a knight, and the last one will require Viceroy. If all goes according to plan, if it makes it into the game in time, and you know, subject to play testing. Sometimes things get tweaked and tuned a little bit. But the easiest one, which we've called the over easy scavenger hunt, you need to be a knight to get the scroll case, and then you can invite anyone in the game. It only requires novice to be invited to. That said, there are, I think the dragon mouse or the dragon egg can appear on that map. So you need to be a knight to open the scroll case. Rule of thumb is when you start a map or a scavenger hunt, if you're the person who opened it, you should be able to solo it. That's what that kind of title requirement represents. But then you can invite somebody as long as there's an objective that they could possibly help with as well. So we kind of put together those 4 tiers. They're coming along pretty well. We were just looking over them again yesterday morning, actually. Kind of went through, we opened up a few more scroll cases, tuned the list of eggs that would appear on each of the scavenger hunts a little bit, kept kind of morphing the rewards a little bit as we played through it. as well. But you can imagine you'll be able to use Rare Map Dust to get a rare chest instead of a regular. So that's, I guess, 4 scroll cases and 8 unique treasure chests. So there's quite a bit to put together in a short period of time. So we're doing our best, but it's looking good so far. Schoolwork, you felt like it may have been too much Emmental in 1000th draft. It was a little generous for those 2 types of cheese. We did kind of jot that down as well. As always, we kind of look over the reward tiers a little bit each year as well. Kind of has a little piece of feedback we wrote down as well. But you know, that's something we'll look over probably before the next time the event runs. Can there be a fix for the pump not running while the claim box is up? We do have a build in the process. In the meantime, if you kind of swipe your app out of memory, kind of restart it from scratch, or if you visit the browser version, it's just a little bit of a persistency thing where the app thinks the board's in a different state than the server. So you kind of need to kill the app, reboot it to talk to the server again. It'll get the fresh copy. We do have a build in the works to fix that as well. Fleming says, leave it to the last minute. Gotcha. No, don't do it. Don't do it. You may regret it. Yeah, make sure you have the latest version. There has been a few builds. I think we've rolled out maybe 2 already, and there might be a 3rd in the works, but there's been a few. It was a little tricky to keep tabs on which build had which at some times here. Why you can't get rid of excess Kagi Colby cheese without using it? Can we trade it or sell it away somehow? I guess you have to just keep on using it, YX, like any event cheese. So no plans to have a way to kind of get rid of it, but I guess you're set for a while. Potato, no backfill eggs this year. Seems a lot of them are folklore forest mice. That might be a fairly safe bet, as you can tell from the way the eggs look. It definitely looks like it has a bit of a folklore forest vibe to me as well. But you know, generally speaking, we add eggs to any new areas that came out, unless there's kind of a really great idea for an egg for a previous area. You know, sometimes we have an idea, we don't have time to add the egg right away, so we might kind of earmark that for the following year. Brian, what do you think of the latest map? I don't quite know what you mean there. Burning Colby without making prompt progress versus Vincent's crate is not claimed yet. Don't think it's something devs should be worried about. It's on the hunter. Yeah, it is just a slight appointment mechanic. If you do need to come back and claim that crate. We were kind of going back and forth whether you could queue a crate or not. And you know, we'll see. Some of it comes down to technical limitations as well, and part of it as well. Every once in a while, there is something that says you need to come back and check on this thing, right? Like it's a very idle, passive game, but I don't think it's the end of the world. I think in some ways it's good that it's, well, you need to come back sometimes and just kind of check on this, make sure the pot isn't boiling over on the stove. To use a metaphor, I think a little bit of that is a good thing. It kind of makes me think a bit in the labyrinth, right? When you get into an intersection, you need to come back and make a choice. And, you know, depending on how you've set yourself up, you might still be hunting in that intersection. I know we've all been there. You come back like, oh, I've been in an intersection for like 3 hours. But that's not always necessarily a bad feeling either, if you get my drift. It's a bit of a feedback mechanism as well, right? Because you know exactly what to do different next time. Is I need to come back a little bit sooner. Schoolwork, you're worried about the shattered egg. Well, I don't have it quite in front of me, but I don't think that would be intentional. If there's kind of a rule of 3 resource that you need equal quantities of, that just might be a bit of a symptom of sample size, would be my guess. Yeah, it's nothing new. If you've been playing MouseHunt for a while, there's plenty of areas where the game kind of has a moment where you need to come back, or you might be kind of burning a resource a little bit. I think that's part of the game. I think that's part of what makes it just add a little bit of excitement. If there wasn't that, it might be a little too easy. It might be a little too passive and boring. There needs to be a little, you know, you can't feel the thrill of victory without the threat of defeat. And so we got to sneak that in just a little bit here and there. Where it's like, oh, should have came back just a little bit sooner. You know, that said, we try to make it try to make it just kind of minor things as well. You have a little bit of agency, right? If you know you're coming up to the end, you could switch down. You could start using Gouda. It's like, well, I'll use that as an opportunity to replenish my cheese overnight. Or if you're using regular Coggy and Speedy, it means like, you know, I'll switch down to regular Coggy just in case I don't come back. So there's some decisions to be made there as well, and that's what makes things interesting. You have some decisions. The game isn't playing itself on cruise control. You're still in the driver's seat, able to turn left, right, go forward, slow down, speed up. It's kind of important that you still feel in charge. Scrib is already asking, can we expect the Super Refactory back again next year? Way too soon. This event hasn't even ended yet, Scrib. Waiting for a twisted carmine egg. Me too, a little bit. I like the living garden. Jessica's loving the pipe party. Seems like a lot of hunters enjoyed the pipe party. You know, again, I kind of stress, don't worry, every board is solvable, so it might require a little bit more patience and thinking sometimes. So yeah, sometimes we need to take a break. Like so many things, right? You're like, I don't think I can figure this out. Maybe just close it for a little bit, you know, go have your cup of tea, finish your work day, come back with fresh eyes, and sometimes, oh, there it is. You know, it's just, sometimes you need to walk away and come back, and then the solution is right in front of you. But the final thing here, before we get to trivia, I wanted to touch base on looking ahead even a little bit further. So we have the birthday, the spring egg hunt, and on previous Feedback Fridays, we were looking a little bit at the roadmap because it's starting to take shape and firm up a little bit. And one thing we had mentioned before is that the King's Giveaway is to follow the spring egg hunt. And we're hoping we can line that up right with the closure of the egg hunt, but don't have a super 100% firm date on that quite yet. But you can expect a King's Giveaway to come out after the spring egg hunt. Very similar, familiar feel. If you've done a King's Giveaway before, be very similar. The vault's making a return as well, earning prize keys. Great opportunity to stock up on King's credits, Super Brie as well. The Rainbow Scroll cases around as well, if that's kind of something that interests you and is rank appropriate. That said, you know, the vault kind of is a nice option if you don't really like Rainbow Scrolls. They show up in the vault and you can pick one of the other prizes, and that kind of I think helped out because the Rainbow Scrolls aren't for everybody. They're kind of not exactly end game scrolls, but that's okay. You can pick one of the other prizes as well. The King's Giveaway as well, we like to use that as a nice opportunity to take a look at King's credits because there's a lot of King's credits in the giveaway. That means usually when we take a look at the King's cart, the King's calibrator, things like that, we are looking at adding the Apprentice Amber into the King's cart as well. So you'll be able to pick some of that up with your King's credits. Clamambert and Beanster cheese as well being added to the calibrator. So that might be a new option that you can unlock with your King's credits. Turn that through your calibrator. And Royal Loot crates as well. Those of a strong identity, or they're very tied with King's credits. So taking a look through that massive drop table, adding a few more items to there as well. Bring that a little bit more up to date to include some of the folklore forest areas as well. Scrib's looking for the factory to be transformed into a cheese IPA factory. Oh boy. The Fantasy Fizz already had a carbonated cheese beverage. I don't think we need, I don't know, cheese beer. That's pushing the limits here of what might be palatable. Ashley, could there be an option to have your cheese or charm disable at Vincent so you don't go wasting Speedy Cold? Again, it's something we discuss a little bit each year, and we have an open mind to it, but it's a balance as well. Like I said, there's sort of a gray area of where it starts to feel a little bit punitive versus feel more preventable. If you make some different choices, you can kind of prevent that from happening. And it comes down to the tier of resource as well. So, I've caught myself doing that as well. Maybe it's a little bit getting late into the evening. I might be going to bed soon, and I kind of downgrade my cheese. Or I'm on a map, and when the bucket head shows up, or is it the cheesy party? No, I don't know. But there's some standard bait mice on those maps. That's kind of a great opportunity to go and get those mice as well, right? It's like I'll restock the cheese. I'll get some of those standard bait mice that are on my map as well because I'm almost done pumping the crate, and I might not come back on time. So, it adds just a little bit of excitement, some risk. You need to feel a little bit of risk so that when you win, you feel that sense of accomplishment of like, I won because I made some good choices versus I won just because the game is playing itself. You feel like you're in the passenger seat. Still need to be in the driver's seat a little bit. Potato's asking for a 4th difficulty for the rainbow map, eh? We'll see. There's no plans for it this year. I think there's certainly lots of other high-level maps as well. It might be hard to make the rainbow map a particularly compelling one. Some stuff is maybe best left as little earlier to mid-game challenges. And then there's something for those tier of hunters, and then there can be something different and unique for the higher ranked hunters as well. Kind of makes everything special. If you try to make everything special, sometimes you end up having nothing feel special. But the other kind of iron in the fire here after the King's giveaway is Big Jack's sister, a new visitor for the Draconic Depths, Little Jill. And the plan would be for both Jack and Jill to visit at the same time. Big Jack would be setting up shop back in the Queso Canyon region, while her sister Little Jill would be visiting specifically the Draconic Depths as a means of introducing a permanent twist on an existing mechanic. So although an event may introduce it, it would then be left behind as a permanent update to the Draconic Depths, something we're still kind of workshopping a little bit. But also because it's an event, you could expect a few temporary bonus things as well. Some bonus loot drops, as well as some temporary bonus Pokeball items to get some loot and have a little extra fun in the Draconic Depths if you're hunting while Little Jill is visiting as well. But it's something we're still workshopping a little bit. We're still designing, implementing it. It's past the prototype, but we're building it and seeing how it feels. And so it's very early days. Things may change a little bit, but there's definitely two pieces of feedback that we're exploring. Is hunters would like an alternative way to work toward a heart, even if it's a bit more slow but guaranteed. And so we've been workshopping some different ways if we could add alternative mechanics to the Draconic Depths, where at the expense of maybe one resource while you're hunting, you could be accumulating a different one that as you build that up, you will eventually be able to purchase a heart from the general store. So it wouldn't be opals, but it'd be something new, and it'd be at the expense of having to do something else. Another piece of feedback we've been looking at the Draconic Depths is alternative ways of gaining Emmental. And certainly events are a fun reward space to utilize for that, but outside of event season as well, adding some alternative ways you could earn some Emmental cheese. So not crafting it, but directly getting the cheese itself. And we're kind of playing around with ways of tying that in as well with this mechanic, where you can either choose, I want to make Emmental cheese a little bit quicker, or I want to make Emmental cheese without using magic essence, or do you want to begin to stockpile a resource that will allow you to unlock a heart? So you can kind of pick your path there. If you like to go in and hunt and try to find those rare loot drops, you can, or if you like to kind of go at a bit more of a slow, steady, predictable pace, you can kind of go a little bit slower, but slowly but surely get there as well. So there's kind of risk versus reward, something we're still kind of playing around with a little bit though. Early days, but fun to share those early ideas, I think. Nevertheless, to get some initial ideas, even a little bit of speculation from players often kind of helps provide a little bit of inspiration and guidance for us as well. Scrib asking, what's the Curious Mouse off to the right? A little bit of early concept art on the Folklore Forest finale, which is under development as well. That's something else that we're working on. But originally we're looking at maybe alternative ways of either unlocking a heart or even the base, although that might be a little bit weird in the finale. But we're kind of playing around with it. Seems hunters want something a little bit sooner than that as well. So we're kind of using Little Jill as an opportunity to maybe introduce that change as well to the Draconic Depths. But again, early days, so not too many details to go into quite yet. A Gilded Chrome Rainbow Slayer map. Wow, hey, Caleb, just combine them all into one. Schmidt looking forward to a slow and steady way to get the heart as well. We want to do it in a bit of an interesting way as well. So we still have yet to sit down and really play test this. But again, I think maybe more the takeaway I want is, the feedback is heard as always, right? And the game evolves and changes over time, like anything else. Nothing's permanent. I think that's part of what makes the game fun and special as well, as it changes it and evolves over time. So, rest assured the feedback has been heard that it's not everyone's cup of tea. And we're trying to explore maybe alternative ways. So, some people who like to do things one way, you have that avenue available to you. Players who like to do it the other way, you have that avenue available to you as well. School directly getting Emmental is just going to mean they stop playing 3/4 of the depths. Well, this would require you to have to still do that whole loop, but you have some different choices to make. So again, might be getting a little bit ahead of ourselves because I can't go into too much detail yet. Potatoes worry it might bring a lot of compression to your area. That's a valid concern. That's definitely something on our radar. And that's too, that's kind of the good kind of feedback we like to be writing down as well, kind of when we share early ideas. But it's a double-edged sword. It's too early to go into great detail, but it's also advantageous to hear what maybe some concerns might be to help shape and guide things. But two, that's why it's kind of take a little bit of time to put together the right design, where it's something that's really incorporated into the core gameplay loop mechanic. You're playing the area almost the exact same way you do. You just have some different choices to make. Do you want to focus on building up a whole lot of a resource to know you'll get there eventually, or do you want to keep on hunting? Do you want to make cheese a little bit faster to have more opportunities to get it as a drop, or do you want to slow down the whole cycle just a little bit to know you'll get to that destination after a set amount of time? So it really, it's kind of gamified. It's incorporated right into the loop of the area. And so you play the area in the exact same way you do. You just have one different choice to make. Yeah, Norm phrases it a good way there. It's not so much compression as an alternate path, which was always the plan as well when we're looking into the finale, right? Kind of have alternate paths to get it, but it seems maybe it's a bit of a polarizing topic as well. So we're exploring, can we accomplish that same effect a little bit sooner? YX, will the Folklore Forest finale be a Viceroy or an Elder area? It might be a little too soon to say with absolute certainty, but Viceroy, for all intents and purposes. I feel pretty comfortable saying it won't be an Elder area. I think it's a little too soon for that. We have a lot of runway left in the Viceroy tier. Dare I say, that's been not a concern as well, but there's not as many viceroys as archdukes, kind of, as a smaller group of players kind of tackling an area. It's good food for thought for as well. So kind of something in hindsight, especially anything that's tradable, a resource that has a tradable economy where players are exchanging with one another, they're selling things on the marketplace. As it gets to be a smaller group of players, especially higher level players, they're a little bit less focused on gold and more focused on in-game objectives. So kind of that's been a bit of a takeaway for us as well, whereas things like Queso Canyon is only count. So there's kind of a wider group of players all kind of contributing to the tradable economy of that as well, and large economies function a little bit different than smaller economies. So it's kind of been a good takeaway for us as well. Wasn't the Sky Palace added to Floating Islands before Folklore Forest came out? Yes, the Sky Palace was that very next release. And so there's precedent there. If you can kind of think of this as a very much more smaller effect than the Sky Palace had on the Floating Islands. But it's a good example of how when something first is released, often we add and expand to it a little bit down the road. Or Fulmina, right? Fulmina has an interesting fun drop table that encompasses a whole lot of items from areas that preceded Fulmina. And she's a scavenger. She kind of flies over everywhere, picking up, collecting all these treasures, and then you can go to MouseHunt to hunt them all in one place. So, there's definitely precedent there where things kind of change, evolve over time. And that's part of the fun of the game as well. With every area, we can make it appeal to a slightly different type of hunter as well. Colette is signing off a bit early. Have a great day. Great weekend, Colette. Jordo, please plan on dual path for future main quest jackpot items. Well, it might be tough to always get it in on day one, and even map releases often follow a few weeks after the initial release of a new area, and that's often because it's good to get feedback, right? No matter how much we kind of play it and kind of tune it and what have you, it always feels different when it goes out. It's kind of an adage in just even software development in general. You could have 100 people all spend 1,000 hours testing something, right? And then you release it and you have 50,000 people all test it for just a few hours, and you've already accomplished more testing than you ever could in a small group, right? So sometimes it's it's just that it's all that information coming in from a large group and kind of gives good ideas for maps and kind of future updates. So it's a living game. It's one that changes over time. And so there's no set formula or anything like that. But you can always expect things don't necessarily always stay the same. YX asking if YX is making some assumptions here that there's a mythical dragon egg. If we go back to the egg hunt, I don't know. I don't know if there's any obvious ones that would be for the mythical dragon. Do you think? Yeah, that's probably a pretty safe bet. Asking, can a heart drop from the egg? Are we going to have to wait and see? All I'll say is if the heart is in the egg, as you can imagine, it would be a pretty rare drop. So that's probably a pretty safe assumption. Well, shall we get into trivia here? We covered the birthday event. This is, again, last weekend going into it. Start evening out those loot drops on Tuesday. It's going to come to an end. Maybe even pay attention to where your pump is sitting there, because when you come back, that next hunt you take after shutdown mode starts is going to finish that last crate, just to kind of help bring things to a little bit more of a quick and tidy conclusion. You'll still be able to play the cheesy pike party as well, so you can play a few more boards there. We went over the egg hunt. Took a little sneak peek at what's to come as well. It's a little fuzzy, but it's nice to get early feedback on ideas while we're building them, right? And I've got this blank slide here. That's not going to be too useful whatsoever. But this one is trivia, and this is very similar to the last trivia question. I was deleting the last one. It was how many eggs were added last year. Well, this week's trivia question, and it's a number, which we can just start guessing, right? How many eggs were added in the very first spring egg hunt? And I hope I'm right. I could be wrong. All right? There's probably a good 20% chance that I get the trivia question wrong here. And we'll see. Stuff is asking if there were more players who stayed in the birthday event area after finishing it, eh? Well, I can tell you right now, over the last 7 days, 90%, or technically 88.7% of players have at least taken a hunt at the Super Brew Factory. We can maybe take, nope, I can't, I'm not signed in. Or am I? Yes, I am. Today, 89.8% of players are at the Super Brew Factory, or have at least taken a hunt in the factory. So it seems the second most popular area is the meadow. I think that's probably new players starting the game. What do you think? That seems like a pretty safe bet. So about, 4% of players are new players who just signed up and they're hunting in the meadow. 90% of players are in the Super Brew Factory. So that leaves, about 6% of players are elsewhere, which looks like the Floating Islands, Queso River, Labyrinth, Draconic Depths, Prickly Plains, Town and Anya are all under 1%. So it seems like most players are at the factory. Now, did anyone get the answer right? Because I already forget what the answer is. I'm going to guess it was 25, and Jessica was the first person in chat to get it right. Let's find out. Yes, it was 25. So what I did is I went and I looked in the live database at the item IDs of all items that had the word egg in it. And I saw how long until there was a break. And that's how I came up with the answer of 25. So I could be wrong. I could be very wrong. I'll put this link in the chat as well so you can give it a click. And this week, Larry has something to help in the egg hunt. I think last time was something for the birthday, but no, this is something for the egg hunt. A little bit of fondue as well. Which I guess that's one thing we didn't touch base on either here when we look back at the egg hunt. The scavenger hunts, again, work in progress. No promises that these will be done in time. We're really trying our best, but if they're not ready, they're not ready. If we're playing them and we don't think they're done, it'll probably be something we wait until next year. Dare I say we're developing it kind of in parallel to the egg hunt so that we can easily just sort of set it aside and save it for next year. But some of those rewards, they would be ways to earn shovels, would probably be their primary identity. You can get some shovels to play Egg Sweeper by doing these scavenger hunts, as well as a chance at fertilizer. At least right now, the very most difficult map, I think right now we have it guaranteed to reward fertilizer. That may change as we kind of play test. But one of the big identities of those scavenger hunts was to be a way to get some shovels. You can farm some shovels by doing the maps, a chance to get some fertilizer, and as you can imagine, points, gold, ancient charms, as you'd expect, some fondue as well, chance to find that, as well as some bonus items to kind of help you sustain the resources you're using to do those maps. So as you can imagine, if you do a scavenger hunt and it's the Viceroy one, you're going to get things for the Folklore Forest because odds are it has some eggs that you had to go find in the Folklore Forest. So that kind of idea. But that reminded me because Larry gave away some fondue in this link here. March 25, 2013. Initially, hunters were at the heads-up display. I thought the egg hunt was in 2011. Could I be wrong? I could certainly be wrong. Michelle says, are you sure? Not really. Not really, Michelle. There were those 10 original special eggs. You know, you got the friendly egg, the striped egg, the spotted egg, the gift egg. I think those all came out. The golden egg. But I'm pretty sure we added. There was the black widow egg. I saw that. It has an item ID like of 500 and something, if I remember correctly. That's an old item. And I don't think that predates V3. It might. Maybe that's what's going on. Yeah, I could be wrong. No, because they were all lined up in order, and they're not in alphabetical order. We'll see. It was 2011. All right. Will fondue be in the marketplace this year? I believe that's something we were taking a look at actually a little bit yesterday, if memory serves me correctly, but no immediate plans. Was it fondue I was thinking of, or was I thinking of a different item? Yeah, we're kind of going back and forth on that a little bit. When in doubt, Michelle is right. I'm pretty sure it was 2011 was the very first egg hunt. Added those 10 special eggs, as well as, I guess there were 15 bonus eggs defined. Or maybe 14 if the gift egg also came out that year. YX asking, how do the eggs taste like if eaten? Yeah, that raises an interesting question. Do you think these spring egg hunts, eggs, all right, do you think these eggs are actually like eggs with yolk inside? Or do you kind of think of them more like decorative eggs? You know, when you get those plastic shell eggs and you put some candy inside and you just open it up, or a little toy? You know, I always thought they're more like a decorative kind of egg, and you smash it open or you crack it open and it has loot inside. I don't picture the mice laying the eggs. That seems weird to me, but it might be one of those things that gets left open to interpretation. It's up to everyone's imagination to decide, well, how do these eggs work? Where are these coming from? Need 10 eggs to enter the chocolate factory to then get more eggs. See, that sounds familiar. I think you first had to calibrate your excavator by finding those 10 important eggs. Then your excavator was tuned for the year and it was capable of finding other eggs. So way back then, there was a chocolate factory. Everybody piled in and they had to kind of finish a little objective, a little adventure, and then go out and find the eggs. As the years went by and the egg hunt got bigger, players were a lot more excited to go and find the eggs than they were to complete an adventure. We got a lot of vocal feedback around it feeling like something tedious. It's like you have to kind of eat your vegetables before you can go have dessert type sensation perhaps. So we cut the factory and just said, well, let's just focus on the fun part that everyone enjoys a little bit more. That said, it is one of those polarizing events as well. It's kind of either you love it or you're kind of indifferent to it. It has been a challenge with the egg hunt over the years. We often see players who really love the egg hunt, they get into it. They're typically the type of players who love to set their own goals. You know exactly what you're doing. You want to collect all the eggs for a certain area. You want to use the eggs to get some specific bonus loot. Maybe you're going to go to the monstrous Black Widow. That's a pretty good spot to just camp out and kind of take advantage of the bonus of the egg hunt. You have hunters who want to be the ultimate egg master, get all the eggs in a single year, which is, whoo, that is above and beyond for sure. But then there's another group of hunters. It's a little too open-ended, right? If you don't set your own goals during the egg hunt, you're not really sure what to do. There's not even an adventure. And I think there's a type of player who likes to have those goals set out for them. And we're kind of hoping that scavenger hunts might be one of those things. If you're not quite sure where to start, you start working on Lady Laura's shop, unlocking all the shelves. That's kind of a tangible goal you can work toward. And when you crack open one of the scavenger hunts, the game can tell you, well, go find these eggs. And you can have a reward go finding these eggs as well. So, we're pretty excited to see how things work out as there, if that could be something that appeals to that type of player as well. Rooney, you still have your eggs from the original spring egg hunt, eh? Can't bring yourself to crack open some of those old collectibles. Dallas, I need a poll to see how many people think mice lay eggs. Well, you know, the Easter Bunny and eggs seem related. I don't quite understand why bunnies and eggs go together either, but oh well. We'll just have to use our imagination. We'll have to suspend some disbelief. The eggs were in 2012. I'm pretty sure I saw the year 2011 in one of them, so we'll see. We may have to get on the case here. We might need the hard-boiled mouse to solve this mystery. Hey, look at the hard-boiled mouse. If there's one mouse that you should just sit down and read the description for, it's the hard-boiled mouse, okay? Maybe give yourself a little treat as the birthday event winds down to get in the mood for the spring egg hunt. Go load up the hard-boiled egg and, you know, maybe get a cup of black coffee right beside you a little bit. You know, kind of lean back in your chair, get your best raspy voice open, and just read that story out loud. That'll get you in the mood for the egg hunt. Well, what time is it, hunters? It's 11:47, which means, yeah, we're coming up on the 50-minute mark, which is getting to be a wee bit long. We should probably wrap things up. Lady Nutsy has a ton of eggs not smashed either. There's some you just can't bring yourself to smash, eh? That's for sure. Let me go look at my collection. I have 93 eggs that I haven't smashed. I'm going to say I can find it. There's some I probably should smash. Yeah, that would have came in handy. The shattered egg. I have 104 shattered eggs that I just can't bring myself to open. I think I just need to keep on collecting those shattered eggs. The wiki says 2011. We're not sure what year was the first egg hunt. It was a long time ago. I tend to remember what office we were in. But yet we should wrap things up, hunters. We did the trivia. We looked over the birthday, gave a little sneak peek at the egg hunt, even gave a smaller sneak peek at what we're working on next as well. Kind of get some super early feedback and impressions there. Just kind of help guide some of our decisions. It's useful, give ourselves a little bit of perspective while we're having some internal conversations. So it's helpful. Well, have a fantastic weekend, everybody. As my voice begins to give out here, that probably means I've been speaking for an hour. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the rest of the birthday event. Remember, Tuesday, it's shutting down, so start evening out those parts, get those final goals completed. You know, if you're working on stacking up your aura, kind of do a few more maps. Do what you can before shutdown starts on next Tuesday. It'll most likely be Jacob joining you next week. And I'll probably see you the week after. I think that's probably going to be how it plays out. Have a great weekend, everybody, and I'll see you next time.
1, 2.
You're a trap, don't seem to mind it. You attract me, I'm a mouse, you're a cat. I don't seem to mind it. Soft and furry, oh, and just when I think I'm safe, snap. Turns out I'm never safe, snap. Just when you think you're safe, snap. I come back. You don't seem to mind it, but I'm a fool. Broke my back. You don't seem to mind it, 'cause you're so cool. And just when I think I'm safe, snap. Turns out I'm never safe, snap. Ooh. And just when you think you're safe, snap. Turns out